Hello, students. Welcome back to your economics class. So, last class, I had told you all two stories about Vilas and Sakal. Today, we will continue with the same story. Okay, so let's do a little revision first. Okay, so we had seen the story of Sakal, okay, where his uncle passed the matric examination and he was sitting in the house, he was idle, he had no job. And then there was Buta and Sheila who were eager to teach Sakal. So they forced him to join the village school. And then he goes on to become a computer engineer. Okay, he becomes a software engineer and he even develops a software. Okay, and his boss is so happy with his services and he's also got a promotion. So this is one story of development, and the other one is this, where we have Vilas, who is an 11-year-old boy. Okay, and his mother, she's also suffering from a disease. Okay, so Vilas, he becomes a patient of arthritis. The mother cannot afford to take him to the doctor, and finally he is stays at home. He helps his mother, he looks after the younger son, but after some time the mother also falls sick. There is no money, so finally it is Vilas who is forced to sell fish in the same village, and just like his mother is on the meager income, so this becomes a vicious circle where everything keeps happening in the same fashion. If you look at Sakal, in case of Sakal, several years of education added to the quality of labor, and this enhanced his total productivity, and in turn, it pays an individual through salary or in some other form of his choice. If you look at Vilas, there could not be any education or healthcare is given, so his productivity is not enhanced; it's the same, and he draws the same salary like unskilled laborers from like his mother. Yes, so these are the two forms of. You can see there are these two you can see there are these two circles. One is a virtuous circle and one is a vicious circle. These are both cycles of growth. I know the picture is a little blurrier, but I will speak it out so you all will be able to see it. So if you look at the virtuous one, that is the one of Sakal. Okay. Uh, so if you look at it, the priority expenditure is basically on health and education, generalization of skills and abilities, and productive human energy. This gives, in turn, it helps us for generation of skills, abilities, and production of good productivity of human energy. That helps us to form a really good human capital, and that will facilitate judicious use of other factors of production, that is land, labor, capital, that will accelerate the growth. And finally, the priority expenditure on health and education will continue. And so the cycle of growth is a virtuous cycle. This is the cycle of growth that we have seen even in Japan. Even if they have less natural resources, we know they are very developed. And if you look at the developing economies over there, the lack of priority expenditure on health and education, lack of skill, abilities, and productive human energy, lack of human capital formation, finally prompts irrational use of other factors of production, that is land, labor, capital, and this will, retard the growth. The pace of growth will go down, and then the priority expenditure that has to be done on health and education will suffer, and automatically the growth will also not take place. Yes, if you take a closer look at this virtuous and vicious cycle of growth, it should reveal how significant it is to promote human capital. The development experience of Japan shows that human capital formation is of greater significance than the physical capital formation. All developed economies of the world, they are focusing more on human capital than other inputs of production. Why? Because better growth of human capital will always imply better utilization of other inputs of production, while the reverse is not necessarily true. So, good, better human capital means uh, better inputs and better utilization of other resources of production. But better utilization of factors of production does not mean better human capital. Okay. Indian economy has started showing its impact in the global market largely, especially because of growth of human capital in the form of software engineers. Okay. Manpower is the power of nation, and manpower is nation's wealth. Education, health, and environment, they are the important features of human resource development. Human resource does not only include the size of labor force or the size of population, but it also includes the quality of labor force or the quality of human of a country. Okay. So manpower is very important to the nation. So like you all saw Sakal and Vilas, each one of us also performs some activity to earn our living. Activities which are directed towards earning a living are called economic activities. Okay. And the activities that do not um, earn a living. So all activities that we perform during the day by men and women, not all activities are economic activities. Like if you go for a morning walk, or you are doing yoga or exercise, or you're listening to music or watching television, your morning prayers, these are not all economic activities. These are non-economic activities. Why? Because they are not directed towards earning income. Okay. So economic activities are those activities which are directed towards earning income. Okay. For example, if Yamuna is working in as an engineer in a factory, or Mahesh is working as a laborer in a construction company, then they are all economic activities. And non-economic activities are those activities which are not directed towards earning income. For example, a housewife who cooks food, or a mother who helps her child to do his or her homework, these are all non-economic activities. Now, economic activities can be categorized into three types. Okay, depending on the nature of the economic activity, the economic activity is divided into three different types. There is primary activity, secondary activity, and tertiary activity. Now, uh, primary economic activities, these are those activities which are related to the exploitation of the natural resources. Okay, so all those activities that help in exploiting, which are towards the exploitation of natural resources like agriculture, mining, fishing. So according to the uh, uh, primary sector of the economy is defined as the sector in which production is undertaken on the basis of primary economic activities. Similarly, primary sector includes such production activities like crop farming, cattle farming, fishing, mining, the ones that are related directly with the natural resources. Those activities are called primary economic activities. Then we have secondary economic activities. Secondary economic activities are those where the production activities are largely related to manufacturing. Okay, manufacturing is called a secondary activity, where the natural resources are properly modified in secondary activity. Whichever natural resources are there, they completely change their form in the secondary economic activity. Secondary sector of the economy is defined as a sector in which production or manufacturing of goods is undertaken on the basis of secondary economic activity. Secondary sector includes production activities like generation of electricity, construction activities, generation of other consumer goods, etc. All these fall under secondary economic activities. And then we have tertiary. Now, tertiary economic activities are those economic activities which are related to production of services. Which services? Okay. According to the tertiary sector of economy, it is that sector which is engaged in production of services like shipping services, insurance services, banking services, services related to tourism, etc. Okay, so those activities that help in production of services, they fall under tertiary economy. Now, economic activities may be market oriented. Okay, that means they involve exchange, or they also could be independent of exchange through market. For example, if a farmer is producing rice for selling in the market, then it is a market oriented economic activity. Okay, because this activity involves exchange, sale or purchase through the market. But if that farmer is growing rice for himself, for self consumption, okay, for his family, then it is still an economic activity, but it does not involve any exchange through the market. Okay, so in India, most of the small farmers, they produce subsistence crops largely for self consumption. As producers, they are performing economic activities, but such activities, they do not involve any exchange. So market activities are when some product or service is produced to be sold in the market. It is called market activity. And non-market activity is when some product or service is produced for self-consumption. It is called non-market activity. Okay, so if a farmer is producing just enough to meet his family needs, then the activity is non-market activity. Similarly, the work of a housewife is a non-market activity because she is working for the benefit for her family. So a mother teaching a child is a non-market activity. But a tuition teacher teaching a student becomes an economic activity. Okay, have we understood this? Now, increasing population can only be a blessing if it is if that population is educated and healthy, because only such population can become an asset to the nation by producing more, earning more, and then higher growth rates of, and then we can reach higher growth rates of economy. Okay, what do you mean by quality of population? Now, increasing population is a blessing and a resource only if it is educated and healthy, and only such population can become an asset to the nation. Okay, so so we can easily say that quality of population is nothing but the way how to determine whether the quality of population is good or not. So there is literary rate, there is health rate, skills determination. All this will help us to check the quality of population. Illiterate and unhealthy population will become a liability for the economy. Literate and healthy population will become an asset for the economy. The same example like I've given you in the first slide. If you remember Amir Khan in Rangila, okay, he was illiterate. I don't know, it's not clearly shown if he's healthy or not, but he was illiterate and so he became a liability for the economy. But the same Amir Khan in Dil Chahta Hai, because he studies and he goes ahead and becomes a good businessman, a successful businessman. He is a literate and he is considered as a literate person, and so he became an asset to the economy. So literate and healthy population contributes towards the GDP of the country. So Indian economy has started showing its impact in the global market largely owing to the large human capital formation, especially in the form of software engineers. Okay, So with this, I'm going to end today's class. I'll just quickly do a little recap of what we have studied. Okay, we saw about Vilas and Sakal, and we also saw how there are two cycles of growth. There's a virtuous cycle and there's a vicious cycle. Okay, and yeah, you all can do this as your homework. Based on this picture, I want you all to classify the activities into three sectors. This picture is even given in your textbook. You can see that picture. You all can draw it in your notebooks. Draw this picture in your notebooks and then label it. Okay, label it by classifying it into three sectors. Okay, so production of goods and services include government services. Yeah, I wanted to even talk to you all about the producing sector of an economy. Now, primary sector includes agriculture and all agricultural activities or all the activities that are related to natural resources. Secondary sector, it includes all types of manufacturing activities, construction activities, quarrying activities, electricity supply, water supply. All this goes in the secondary sector. And in the secondary sector, it's basically manufacturing where the natural resource is completely modified. And then comes the tertiary sector that produces useful services for the primary and secondary sectors. So, economy is the sum total of all the economic activities. It has three sectors: primary, secondary, and tertiary. So, based on this picture, you're going to label it into the three sectors: primary, secondary, tertiary, and you will redraw this or you will recreate this in your notebook. Okay. Now, in our country, there is a division of labor between men and women. Women generally look after the domestic chores and men work in the fields as laborers. Okay. If you remember the story of Sakal, his mother, Sheila, she used to cook food, clean utensils, wash clothes, keep the house clean, look after the children. And his father, he used to cultivate the field, sell the produce in the market and earn money for the living. Now, Sheila was not paid for the services. Okay, so she pay whatever services she did, they were non-economic. They were considered as non-economic activities. Whereas Bhutta, he used to earn money. Okay, and then he used to spend this money on his family. So women are not paid for their services delivered to the family, and the household work done by the women is not even recognized in the national income of the country. And if you look at Geeta, who is the mother of Vilas, she earned income by selling fishes. So the women are paid for their work when they only enter the labor market. Till they don't enter the labor market, the women are not paid for their work. If you look at your own parents, look at your mother, she's not paid for cooking, she's not paid for these other things. But if she gets into the labor market, she will earn a living. Okay, their earning, like that of their male counterpart, is determined on the basis of education and skill. Of course, everyone's earning is determined on the basis of education and skill. Education helps individual to make better use of the economic opportunities available to them. Education and skill, they are the major determinants of earning of any individual in the market. A majority of women, they have less education and low skill formation. Women are paid lower compared to men, and most women work where job security is not there. Various activities relating to legal protection is not available. Employment in this sector is characterized by irregular and low income. There is an absence of basic facilities like maternity leave, child care, and other social security systems. But if you look at a woman with high education and skill formation, okay, then she is paid at par with the men. Okay, so among the organized sector, teaching and medicine attracts the most women. Some women have entered administrative and other services. including jobs, especially the jobs that need high level of scientific and technology competence. So most nowadays we are changing, we are able to see women in so many different scenarios. But still, if you look at a major part, look at your parents or look at your uncle and aunts, you will see that women are normally not paid. They are normally in the non-economic activity. So with this, I end today's class. This is your homework. So stay home, stay safe, take care, and keep learning. Thank you.